Golden State Media Concepts Sci-Fi Podcast. Together we dive into the world of sci-fi and science fiction. From episodes of Star Trek, Star Wars, to The Walking Dead, Resident Evil, all the hot new science fiction movies from the back doors of Marvel or DC. The Golden State Media Concepts Sci-Fi Podcast. You'll never look at science fiction the same way again.
Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Science Fiction Podcast, where you are all here to get your sci-fi fix. So we're going to talk about a few things today. We're going to talk about the return of the Caped Crusaders, Batman that is, the new Star Wars Space Cantina. It's the Mos Eisley Cantina, but it's like they built one in LA. Like
yeah,
you can
it's
go
like a
to
pop-up cantina, so you can actually go and enjoy drinks and stuff. But we're gonna wait because I'm gonna tell you guys about that.
I'm really excited about that, by the way, as a lover of Star Wars. So we're going to talk about how like narrative podcasts have kind of become a little bit more popular. Like there are a couple really cool new ways that you can go about podcasting. And then we're going to talk about Avatar 2 coming out in 2017 and Isaac Asimov's The Caves of Steel maybe being adapted into a movie, which is pretty cool, especially if you're a science fiction fan that is familiar with Isaac's work. So the first thing we wanted to talk about is the return of the Caped Crusaders.
Yes.
So Adam West, Burt Ward, and Julie Newmar are back for a new animated Batman movie. Now, I watched the trailer for it, and I'm really excited. So you guys all saw The Killing Joke recently. Well, DC's kind of killing it as far as animation movies go. They've been releasing a lot of really cool animated Batman movies. What with the new Superman and Batman vs Superman release and all the new DC stuff that's coming out. So they've recently released The Killing Joke. There's Attack on Arkham, which I have not seen yet. And if you haven't seen The Killing Joke, I highly recommend it. It's a pretty good time. Not the best animated thing that I've ever seen. But I kind of stand where with The Killing Joke, I kind of stand where Drew stood. If you go back a couple episodes, Drew talks about The Killing Joke a little bit, and I kind of feel the same way about The Killing Joke as he does. Like, I never thought it was really like this amazing comic book, but I do enjoy it, and I did enjoy the animated film, and it's a good time. It's kind of done in like the old Batman show style, which I thought was interesting. So this is done in like more of a tongue-in-cheek, cartoony type style. The Return of the Caped Crusader is the old 1960s Batman. And so if you love the old 1960s Batman, I know the movie's on Netflix. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. It's a lot of fun. It's more of a fun, lighthearted Batman. So it's like the complete opposite of The Killing Joke. Like The Killing Joke, we got sex and guns and people dying and demented jokes and that sort of thing, with some really heavy content. The Return of the Caped Crusaders is going to be very tongue-in-cheek, very 1960s fun Batman. So the Joker, the Riddler, the Penguin, and Catwoman are back, and they're causing mayhem. So Batman and Robin have to get back to it. And oh man, I'm really excited for it. I think it looks pretty good. What do you think, Pauline? I know you watched the trailer too.
I know. I actually was, after watching the trailer, I was really interested in it, and it looked like it was going to be a lot of fun, which I'm excited for. Because I don't watch a lot of Batman, but this I do want to see. And especially because Shay's been hyping it up so much, I want to even more. I do. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I really liked Batman a lot, especially like when I was a kid. I watched a lot of I watched the old Batman animation cartoon, and I watched Batman Beyond, and I remember watching the Michael Keaton Batmans and just like being in love with it. And so I bought a couple comic books when I was a kid, and I've read The Killing Joke. I've read, Return of the Dark Knight, the one that Frank Miller did, which in my opinion is the best. I haven't seen the animated version of that. I hear it's really good. And, I'm really glad that DC is making a resurgence. I liked Suicide Squad. I liked Batman vs Superman. I liked The Killing Joke. I guess I'm just a Batman fanboy in a sense. So things like this and who doesn't enjoy the 1960s Batman? And especially if you're familiar with the content from that show and familiar with the old Batman, I think this will be a lot of fun. And it might be something good for kids to enjoy, because I know Batman versus Superman is a little dark for kids, perhaps. I don't know. But The Killing Joke is definitely dark for kids. And I know the Assault on Arkham is really dark for kids. Like, I think that movie like involves like a lot of the characters from Batman just like dying and getting shot and all kinds of gruesomeness. So if you want Batman that's a little bit more wholesome and a good like starter for children, I think this might be your best bet for that sort of thing. So Batman Return of the Caped Crusaders is on Blu-ray and DVD if you really want to check it out. Yeah, no, like I think it's really interesting that Warner Brothers they're not afraid to look back at their old property and be like, okay, so this is what this was like. Like, for example, when the newer Batman movies were coming out, the ones directed by Christopher Nolan, they still released their Arkham games, which were not set in the Christopher Nolan Batman universe, so to speak. Like, Warner Brothers is not afraid to use its old properties. The Batman Arkham games were very much like the Michael Keaton Batman, in the sense that they were a lot darker and more, Tim Burton-esque, like the comic books were. So they're definitely not afraid to go back and look at things in a different way, which I think is interesting. Like, I think it's interesting that they're willing to put out this thing that was from the 60s, and even though it might, not necessarily be within the continuity of the DC universe.
So in Hollywood, we are going to have a pop-up Mos Eisley Cantina, which I'm actually thinking is going to be really exciting. They have been kind of hyping up this pop-up cantina. So basically, it's going to just be for a short period of time. Like, it's not a permanent, like, restaurant.
Okay.
And so that kind of, like, adds to it being so exclusive. And
right.
What they were doing is they've been just, like, kind of, like, promoting it and saying that it's going to be in a secret location. So all we knew leading up to it was that it was just going to be in Hollywood. Somewhere in Hollywood, they were going to pop up this cantina, and it's going to be called the Scum and Villainy Cantina. And
that's great.
Right. And so it's kind of cool because, okay, so what it is that they encourage people, so you have to like make a reservation.
Right. Of
and
course.
The reservation, it's like a 2-hour reservation. And you get part of like with your reservation, is that you will get 2 drinks, a souvenir pint glass, and then like a challenge coin. So it's actually kind of cool. And they, of course, encourage people to like dress up,
of course,
and things like that. And so there's 2 different times that you can go. You can go between 6 to 8 or 8:30 to 10:30 in the evening. But then the kind of like cool thing, because of course those spots are like anticipated to like get booked up quickly.
Oh yeah.
And so they did open it from 11 to 2 a.m. that you could do like walk-ins. So like you could just go and try to like get in if you couldn't make a reservation,
right? Which
is kind of nice because those spots, those few reservations are going to go so fast.
Oh, they're probably super expensive.
Yeah, and so like having that opportunity to just go. But then I think also as kind of like one of the perks of having the reservation is that later you can go back also after your reservation's up and go for like the different types of drinks that they're going to have that are just going to be kind of like unique to the cantina, which I honestly just think it's like really exciting and kind of cool. I don't like they're going to have like food that's going to be more like unique to that, so it's not going to be really food or drinks that we can get anywhere else, really.
Well, I'm sure the bands are going to be great,
right?
Like, because the Mos Eisley Cantina band, that's just classic. Just so like, I bet the music's going to be great. I bet,
so you're literally there, like you're at the cantina.
They're probably going to have like actors walking around in some of like the costumes from before. And maybe there might be like I kind of hope that there'd be like a show or something. Like we get to see Obi-Wan cut off what's his name's hand.
Something,
that would be great.
How fun. And I've watched the Star Wars movies, but I'm not like really into it. But this is something that I feel like if I had the opportunity, I would really want to experience.
Yeah.
Just to say you did it.
If I wasn't so broke, I would definitely
Right.
go. I would try to go out of my way to go and see something like this, because that's like a dream for most Star Wars fans, is to go to the Mos Eisley Canteen.
Exactly.
Oh man, that's
have,
too
like,
cool.
Drinks that they would have there, you know,
Yeah,
like
I'm kind of wondering like what the names of the drinks would be. Like I don't know, the
I wonder
Dirty
what it
Jabba or
tastes
something.
like. Yeah.
Like just I don't know. Like, and they probably have to, because I don't know if you've noticed this, but in the Star Wars movies, especially in New Hope, they use a lot of like Tupperware containers for like their drinks. Like it's like these weird Tupperware cups. I wonder if they'd be doing something like that for their drinks. Like I wonder.
Hope so.
I wonder how in depth they're gonna go with this. Like,
right.
And you know what? It's probably one of those, like, do you know what guerrilla marketing is?
No.
Explain. Guerrilla marketing is like, so when they did, we're running over a little bit of time here, but that's okay. When they did that movie Chronicle, you know, the one where those kids had superpowers and they're beating each other up in the sky or whatever. So what they did was they got permission from the city of New York, and they flew like remote control airplanes that were cutouts in the shape of people flying, and they flew them over New York City, and people were freaking out. Like, they were like, "Oh my god, I saw somebody flying in the sky!" And like, so it was like guerrilla marketing is like you do stunts like that for your movie. Like, you know, the story about the clown walking around. Where was it? The guy dressed as a killer clown.
I know. I want to say Connecticut, but
yeah, something like that, or Kansas or something. Like, Connecticut, you know, one of the K's.
Yeah, Connecticut's a C, but we'll take it.
So whatever, one of the ones that starts with K.
Right.
There was that clown walking around, and he had the balloons, and he was really scary looking, and that was a political stunt for a short film. Like, that's guerrilla filmmaking.
Gotcha.
So I wonder, like, if this is like a guerrilla tactic to get people to go see the new Rogue One movie, which, by the way, I am stoked for the new Rogue One movie. Back when I was like a kid, they had all those Rogue Squadron video games, like Rogue Squadron 1, Rogue Squadron 2, Star Wars TIE Fighter, and all of that. And I remember always talking with my friends, like, wouldn't it be really cool if they made a TV show, kind of like Battlestar Galactica, but just on the Rogue One Special Forces unit for the Rebels, like, where all these little fights that they could have with the Empire and stuff, and just a show about the pilots, because one of the coolest things about Star Wars, besides the Jedis and all that, was the space combat, like the TIE fighters and the X-Wings and all of that. So I'm really excited that they're making this into a movie. I know my boy Gareth Edwards is directing it, and I love him as a director. I liked Godzilla. I don't care what anybody says. I liked the Monsters movie. So I think that this could be really good, and I definitely trust him more than I trust J.J. Abrams with the baby that is Star Wars. So looks like we're coming up on a break, and yeah, like, I'm really excited for the Star Wars Cantina. I hope we hear more about it.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear, like, once because it's only going to be, I believe, I want to say 2 weekends. So, like, it's a really short time. And so I'm really excited
I would say road trip, but I bet it's already booked out.
I'm, and like they that's what I was thinking. And this is like one thing, because I know that a lot of people, and I think it's fun too, when you go to like a movie premiere or something and people are dressed up. I don't do that, but for this, I would want to go all out.
Would you do the Princess Leia buns, Pauline?
Something so cool, right?
Yeah.
Like, you would just have to go all out for this one time.
When I went and saw Godzilla, it was like that. People wore their Godzilla masks, which there's only like one Godzilla mask that was ever released, and then they brought like their little action figures. And
You would have to.
Like, I feel like that's the kind of thing you do at this sort of thing. So again, it looks like we're coming up on a break. When we get back, we're going to talk to you guys about the Caves of Steel narrative podcast and Avatar 2. So stick around.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
And we are back from that swell commercial break. Now, we wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about some of the directions that it seems like podcasts are going. And this is a podcast, but it's not the kind of podcast we're going to be talking about.
It's kind of like, narrative podcasts, and it's specifically like sci-fi narratives,
right,
are getting really popular in the podcast world. And I know that, right, like sci-fi on like the radio is popular, on TV, in films, books, and things like that.
It's really interesting. A little bit of a sidebar. Science fiction has become really popular in the last 5 years, and I'm really excited. I loved science fiction since I was a little kid. Like, if I was going to watch any movie when I was growing up, it probably was sci-fi related. Like, it 9 times out of 10, I'd want it to be something sci-fi related because I just loved, mostly because of Star Wars so much. And now it's really interesting because like in the 2000s, sci-fi was kind of almost dead. And I brought this up before. There wasn't a whole lot coming out, but recently in the last 5, 6, 7 years, sci-fi has really been blowing up, and everybody is enjoying it.
It's kind of like
again.
Mixed in everything.
Yeah, there's
it
a little
really
bit
is.
It really is. Yeah, there's a little bit of science fiction in just about everything. That's coming out. That's a really good observation.
Right, because even like in shows that I like watch, I'm like, that's kind of, it's borderline. It's not necessarily like aliens and things like that and monsters and creatures, but other things. I'm like, that's kind of like sci-fi.
Well, and you know how I feel about when it's just like, oh, the reasoning is aliens. Yeah, no, that bothers me.
And so it's kind of cool because now podcasts are kind of joining in on that.
Yes.
And so it's just another outlet for sci-fi.
Well, and it's really interesting some of the ways that these narrative things are going. Like there's a series that has a little bit of a sci-fi element to it. I'm not going to say the name of it because I think my boss will probably kill me for promoting some other podcast, somebody else's podcast. But it's done within the like burst transmission calls from like a CB radio. So it's like this lady's looking for her like lost wife and runs into some trouble with these things called the Thistlemen or the Hungry Men, and they're like these crazy other beings that kill people in the roads of America. And so it's really science fiction-esque. We're waiting for the season 2 to come out. I'm kind of excited about it, but there's a lot of like stuff that's done in a very interesting way. Like there's one that I listened to where it's like set up like local news recordings, like of like somebody being like, well, today the weather is going to be like this, but for like a really crazy town. Right. And so there's all this like mischief and stuff happening, and like these characters that keep coming up, and he's just kind of like reading like don't go in the dog park.
That sounds fun.
I'm sure if you're listening out there and you're familiar with this podcast, you know what I'm talking about. But there's also a lot of like compilation stories where like it'll be somebody reading stories. Like there's a lot of compilation horror and compilation sci-fi stories where people send in their stories and then they're read over the air or they write for them. And so it's interesting that podcasts are no longer just being this like news-based, review-based related thing, that it's kind of becoming a lot like old-time radio. Because like old-time radio used to be like The Shadow, and then like it was like a serial, with like different voice actors and sound effects and stuff like that. And that might be cool. Like, I don't know, I'd listen to that sort of thing. But then again, I'm a nerd.
I think it though is kind of getting to that point because all of a sudden, I know books on tape have been like a thing for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And I used to listen to like, when I first started like learning how to read, I would listen to like the cassette tapes that came with the book, and you follow along. You can still get those. Yeah. And that's still like really popular, but like books on tape are like all of a sudden, like I think having like a really big surge. So, it kind of makes sense that podcasts are kind of taking that route as well.
Well, you're getting things like audiobooks and stuff like that are doing a lot of it. Like I was what was it? Because like I don't think I can actually get through Dune. Dune is such a dense book. It's so dense. Like they like describe the grains of sand. Like it's like it's dense. So I was listening to that through Audible on a monthly trial, and it made it a lot more tolerable. Right. Like I like to read. Like I love to read. Don't get me wrong. Like science fiction is where it is at for reading. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, iRobot, all that stuff. Like I eat it up. Ender's Game. But like Dune it's one of those ones that I know I have to get through, but I'm not going to be able to get through it just reading it. So it's nice that things like that exist. And I know that a lot of book publishing companies, a little bit of another sidebar, are releasing things on SoundCloud and Stitcher and that sort of thing,
I like
so that
it.
you can listen to their book and maybe buy it later. You know, like if you liked it, you know, or they'll release segments of the book or whatever. So I don't know. It's really interesting.
I like it though. I do, and I think it's going to be because I would listen to a sci-fi book or a sci-fi narrative on a podcast, but I wouldn't necessarily pick up a book.
Brought that kind of thing up to our boss before. I'm like, hey, what if we did a podcast? Because he wanted to do a zombie related podcast. And I'm like, well, what if we set it up like one of these narrative podcasts? And he's like, I never even thought of that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put that on the back burner.
Yeah, but I think people who wouldn't necessarily be interested would be, because we do like stories, you know, and it kind of like it follows that book on tape kind of premise. Right.
No, and it's the old, you know, humans sitting around the campfire, you know, telling their campfire stories. It's the same thing. So it looks like we're coming up on another break here, and when we get back, we're going to be talking about the new Avatar 2. Yay. Stick around.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
So I don't know about you, Pauline, but I'm ecstatic about the new Avatar 2.
You can just hear it in your voice.
Oh, yes. I'm so ready for this film to happen. I have been waiting for so long. So the long-awaited sequel to 2009's mega hit Avatar looks like it's finally ready to begin filming. So they haven't even started yet. Now, at Wizard World Comic Con in Chicago, they did a little bit of a little bit of a talking about it. Stephen Lang was confirming it. I think he's one of the producers on this, and so I'm really not like excited about this at all. I know you can hear it in my voice. Like, I really did not care for the first Avatar movie. I really don't like the whole space. Oh, we're white and we're sorry for colonialism. Like, oh, we're so sorry. It's Pocahontas in space. It's Last of the Mohicans in space. Like. One of the things that really bothers me about Avatar, is so we're supposed to be sorry, and we're supposed to be trying to tell everyone, like, look at how sorry we are for colonialism. We're so sorry, guys. But then, like, the only character that, like, so the humans in Avatar are supposed to be representing, like, the white colonialists, right? And I think, like, they're all white, too, like, if I'm not mistaken, like, pretty much. And so, like, they have this Navi program where, like, it's like the Avatar program where this dude... He's in a wheelchair, and he goes and, like, he becomes one of the Na'vi, and so they're trying to get better relations with these people that are supposed to represent Native Americans, which, honestly, some people actually found that racist. Don't blame ya. And so he goes, and he's with them, and he's learning with them, and, well, so, like, here we have this guy who, so we have these people that are being oppressed by us, basically, by humans, and... We're trying to get better relations with them, but the only person that can really save them from being destroyed by us, the people, is a person himself. So it's basically like saying the only person that can stop colonialism is other white people, basically. So you have this white man who's going into this native culture, and he's the only one. He's only been there for like 3 days, and he learns how to fly their giant hawk thing. And he's better than all of them at everything they do, and he's only been there for 3 days. Like, it's a little ridiculous. It's a little bit aggravating, and like, I really, like, when it came out, I wasn't really excited for it. And when I saw it, I was like, I don't understand. I cannot comprehend how this movie did so well. I know it's James Cameron, and James Cameron does really big things. Like, he did Titanic, which I really didn't like Titanic either. I'm sorry. But he also, like, did Aliens, which Aliens is the better of... It's the best one of the Alien movies. So, like, I have kind of high hopes for him. Like, James Cameron also did Terminator and Terminator 2, which are, like, two of the best science fiction movies ever made. Like, and then he goes and makes Avatar, which, like, I don't understand how that is more popular than Terminator. I don't understand how that is more popular than Aliens. Like, I don't understand it. So, okay, I'm sorry.
Shay, aww.
The first Avatar pulled in $2.7 billion at the box office, and it remains the biggest moneymaker of all times. You know, whenever you hear of a movie doing really astronomically well in the box office, it's always being compared to Avatar, which was just nothing good coming out in 2009. Like, let's be honest. I actually have a list right here with me that shows what other movies came out in 2009, and if you really, like, think about it, then yeah, nothing else good came out in 2009. We had Crank 2...
Up.
Up is really good, but I mean, like, it's not like
it's
science
a baby
fiction.
movie.
Yeah. It's for chillins. Star Trek, which is actually really good. What else came out? Inglourious Bastards, that's really good. But like Watchmen, Mr. Nobody, Harry Potter, X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Oh, 2012.
Yeah, 2012.
Yep,
like,
came out.
Some not so great movies. It didn't really have a whole lot of competition, I guess, and so maybe that's why. So they were expecting to put the sequel out in 2014. That didn't happen, so it got pushed back to 2016, and then early this year, Cameron was like, nah, Avatar's going to be coming out in 2018. So we'll see. My hope, and they say that they want to make... like 3 more of these things, and which is like, how? Like, you have such a shallow universe. We know nothing about what's going on. Like, there's really nothing more to tell. Like, it's such a simplified and easy story. Like, yes, the special effects were cool. Yes, motion capturing is awesome. I love motion capturing. I guess in that aspect, Avatar is okay because of Avatar, video games now have mocap, and mocap brings it from these just, like, lifeless dolls talking to you to actually some character. And some characters in video games, which is kind of nice. But I'm kind of hoping that, like, judging by the fact that this is just being pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, that hopefully maybe this film will never be made and I don't have to worry about it.
It's going to come.
I don't know.
People want it too much. The demand.
Do they though? Like, I don't know anybody that's just like, yeah, Avatar was the best thing ever. Like, I know, like, when it came out, everybody was like, yeah, Avatar is the best thing ever. But whenever you, like, ask people these days about Avatar, they're just kind of like, yeah, I remember
I'm just
that.
nervous on how... well, like the second one would do.
Yeah, so
you know what I mean?
Tell me about, like, your opinion. Like you just heard me, like, bash it over the head.
Well,
you tell me a little bit about what you think.
But I kind of agree with you because when Avatar first came out, I did see it thrice.
You went and saw it 3 times.
And
oh my God.
Because listen. Let me explain.
No judging.
I saw it first regular, right, in 2D, and I was like, oh, this is good. But then my mom and my brother went to go see it in 3D, and they were like, Pauline, you have to see this in 3D.
Okay.
So I was like, you know what? I want to. And so my mom, brother, and I went to go see it in 3D. Then my second brother was like, oh, I haven't seen this movie yet. And we're like, you got to see it in 3D. So we all went again to see it in 3D with him. So... that's the reason why I saw it so many times while I was in theater.
God, you just reminded me of another reason why I hate this movie.
So I kind of added to that 2.7 billion because I'm sure there are a lot of people that went to go see it who were like, come, you have to watch this.
Well, then people were like that with the Avengers movies, but it didn't make as much.
But the thing is, when I do see it like playing on TV or something, I don't watch it.
Right.
I don't think I'll watch the first one again until probably the week before the second one comes out so I can just refresh myself on all the details.
Sure, and I need to see it again too.
But, I mean, I do know that a lot of people were, like, really, really into the movie and, like, really super depressed.
Yeah, no, there were, like, people that were, like...
after the movie and...
there are Navi
emotionally,
fetishes,
attached. Which, I mean, to each his own. That's cool, too.
Sure,
you know,
but I'm
there's
just saying,
probably
like,
a lot of things that I do that people are like, well, you're weird. You know, type thing.
Sure.
But I did like what I was seeing. And I think, like, in 3D, it was a really cool way that they did it in 3D, like when they had like things like floating next to you and things like that. So I liked that experience of it.
See, and I never saw it in 3D. I just watched it on TV when it came out because I wasn't like ecstatic.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I just watched it. Well, I mean, come on. Like, if a movie should be able to stand on its own, like, I should be able to watch a movie on my phone and still enjoy it as much as if I went and saw it in the theaters.
But then there's sometimes, like, you know, like the whole, like, experience, though.
Sure, the theatrical experience is great, but a movie should be able to stand on its own.
Well, Shay, I'm sure some theaters will play the first one and again, because you know how like they do that, and then the second one.
You know, if
so
they did
we can
that,
go do that.
I would go and
buy
see
like
it.
you know like the combo pack where you buy the 2 movies at once and you get like unlimited popcorn all day,
and you bring your pillow.
Yeah, exactly. But we don't have to dress up for that one. I'm not going to dress up for that one.
Well, one of the things that you actually reminded me of that I'm sorry, I've got one more complaint.
Okay, bring it.
I'm really sorry, guys, and I'm sorry to my co-host who has to hear me just complain.
I love
and
it.
Beat it up. And one of the things that this movie did that it just grinds my gears. So this movie is the reason 3D came back. Like, if you really think about it, like 3D was not
agree.
a thing.
I think
and then
so.
all of a sudden,
really
this movie
boosted
came out in 3D, and then like now everything is being released in 3D. And 3D is honestly a fad. It was a fad. I mean, like nobody goes and sees 3D movies
and I think
anymore.
that's why this one I did enjoy it in 3D because
it was
kind of like surrounded you.
Right.
Yeah, like the elements. It wasn't just stuff popping out at you. You know, like there was. It was like around you, and you felt like you were like immersed in it, almost a virtual reality style esque.
There are a couple movies that did a good job in 3D. Like there were a couple movies that like I saw that were in 3D that I actually enjoyed, and everyone's gonna hate me for this, but I went and saw The Phantom Menace when they re-released it in 3D, and yes, it's a terrible movie, I know. But the nostalgia in me and the Star Wars fan in me was like, okay, well, I better go see this because it's in 3D. Well, the 3D in the Star Wars The Phantom Menace, like when they re-released it in 3D, was actually kind of good. Like I enjoyed it for just its 3D aspect. So maybe like if I went and saw this in 3D, I wouldn't hate it as much.
Right. I think so. I think you didn't get the full experience. And you were probably at home not eating delicious hot popcorn and drinking a Coke. Like you gotta have like the entire
I don't know. And I also overanalyze movies, so like maybe
But I like it. No, but your take is because I did think that, and I think that's why I haven't seen it since.
Well, it's such a big problem with movies where it's like, oh, white people are bad, and then it's the white man that saves everyone. Like it's a big problem in cinema. It's a big problem in video games. Like it is just a big problem, and I don't think that people like realize what they're doing. Like they think, oh, look at how culturally sensitive we are, and I'm like, no, you're just as bad. You're the problem.
I just really liked it when like those little jellyfish looking things were floating around my face during the movie. I thought
I don't even remember
like
that part.
See, because they weren't floating around your face because you were watching it at home on your phone.
I didn't watch it on my phone. I watched it on my TV. I'm just saying that
because my dad kind of was the same way. My dad was like, I don't see why you guys literally saw this 3 times in theater. And we were like, because that, and I think you're right as far as like why it kind of resurged like 3D, because people, what I remember from when I was sitting in the movie theater was that I really did feel like I was like surrounded, and there were times.
That's cool.
And do you recall when this movie came out? I'm trying to think of how old I was.
2009.
2009? How old was I?
I don't know. You're 25 now.
Yeah. Whoa. Okay. Never mind. I'm not 25, but
you're 24, right?
24. 20.
It's close.
Anyway, so
close. My bad.
No, it's okay. It's okay. But I just remember like we had like a really good time. For some reason I thought I was a lot younger, but whatever. But then, because like you know when you watch 3D movies, literally things are just like jumping out at you, or it's like when they hit the baseball and the baseball looks like it's gonna hit you in the face, but you know
like
it's not.
In Godzilla, where it's the phone on the table, but it's out of focus.
Yeah,
and then like behind him, the thing's in focus, and it's like, well, if it's right there in front of me, it's gonna be in focus.
Yeah, yes. So I think that was what I enjoyed about Avatar, was that I felt that it was worth it to see it in 3D because they had other things around, not just a focal point being in 3D.
Yeah.
Other things and other elements were in 3D. So maybe that's why I just recall like a loving memory of the movie,
Okay.
you know? And so when the second one comes out, I'm assuming and I'm hoping that it'll be in 3D as well. And that one I will go see in 3D.
And I'm just saying, nobody sits around at home and is like, let's pull Avatar off the shelf.
True.
Let's
and
watch
didn't they try
Avatar.
to like have Avatar 3D at home? Like if you had like a certain...
If you had a 3D TV.
3D TV.
But I mean, like, 3D TV was...
I feel like
that's
it's
another
still not
fad
the
in
same.
of itself.
Yeah, I feel like it just...
No.
Yeah, that wasn't... Yeah.
So another thing that's being made into a movie, speaking of upcoming movies, so it looks like Akiva Goldsman is going to be adapting Isaac Asimov's The Caves of Steel into a film. So he is the screenwriter for A Beautiful Mind, which won an Oscar, and then some non-Oscar winners like Batman Forever, I Am Legend, and I, Robot. So he's been hired to adapt Isaac's 1953 murder mystery, The Caves of Steel, to the big screen. Now, I guess there have been 3 other writers that have tried to take a crack at this for Fox before, because Fox Studios owns this. And there was another movie that came out in BBC for it in 1964. Now, I'm a little skeptical about this. I, Robot was nothing like the novel. The novel had no violence of any kind. Will Smith's character didn't even exist. There was really just the name iRobot and the 3 rules of robotics were like the only thing from iRobot that were even in the film. Mm-hmm. iRobot was actually a novel about like, so it's this lady and she's telling a story about how robotics have progressed over time. And so it's a bunch of short stories about robots that are all put together. Right. And some of the characters are reemerging, including herself. And every single time it's using the 3 laws of robotics, which are a robot may never hurt a human. A robot must like keep its own safety and personal well-being in mind. And a robot must do whatever a person tells it to in that like order of importance. Mm-hmm. So in the novel, it's a lot of like problem solving, like things are going haywire with the robots or something's going on and they have to problem solve. Okay, so why did the robot act this way? How can we get it to not act this way? And, you know, there's life and death involved, but it's never someone's pulling a gun on somebody and shooting somebody. Like, it's not a non-violent thing. And I'm not actually familiar with The Caves of Steel. I'm going to actually go pick it up and read it just to see what it's like. But I'm pretty sure that if he butchered iRobot the way he did, which, don't get me wrong, I like the movie iRobot. I actually thought it was very enjoyable. But if he butchered that story in such a way, I'm kind of worried about what he's going to do with this. Like, A Beautiful Mind is a great movie. Batman Forever, we can argue about. No, it's not a good movie. And then I Am Legend is one that I can argue to. Like, I like I Am Legend. I liked the alternate ending better. But the book that it's based on, The Last Man on Earth, and the movie with Vincent Price, The Last Man on Earth, is so much better than the movie with Will Smith. And I liked I Am Legend, and I think it's a decent film, and I think it's a good introduction to kind of zombie and vampire movies. But watch the one with Vincent Price. Like, if you haven't seen The Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price, like, you could probably find it in any like black and white horror movie collection, because I think it's public domain right now. Give it a watch. Like, it is a treat. Like, I know it's a little cheesy because it's a 60s horror movie, but it's really good, and it's really deep and philosophical. And I Am Legend, in a sense, is like that, but like the ending where it's like, oh, we got the antivirus and now everybody's going to be safe. Like, that's not how it should have ended. Just saying. So check out the alternate ending. It's on YouTube. That's the end of our show. I'm Shay Northrup.
And I'm Pauline.
And you can check us out on goldenstatemediaconcepts.com, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iTunes. We're everywhere. So check us out. And that is the end of our show. Stay saucy.